some of the Packers game against the Eagles to just look at some opportunities that you might have in that run game based on the behaviors that those guys have.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, AG, you got the quick flip. So we're going to go Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat both last game that we saw against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean,
Yeah.
they were absolutely quarterback first, tackle on the way to the quarterback, teeing off, get a yard deep as fast as you can. And that seems like a relatively new thing when you watch our game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
You see they
their
go man motion here.
pants were on fire. That was a good job of taking his aggressiveness, Riddick's aggressiveness, and then planting him inside. He's already coming up field hard, but take him where he wants to go.
So you see those looks, and his head never goes outside, right? His head never peaks.
Nope.
And so he's not shooting. So those opportunities are there. Now, the only thing I would say is when I was watching the San Fran game, I don't know if a receiver with his outside foot back is making that block now. That's kind of what I'm saying is like, I don't know if he might, and maybe it's different because it's Pat Mahomes, but the way that they were going after the quarterback last time, like this last game felt a little bit different, but those opportunities do show up on tape all the time, certainly.
Yeah.
You got 12 personnel here. And this is just like a very smart thing from an offensive standpoint. So they go motion here because they're going to motion over the nickel who's over Randall Cobb. They're going to bring down the safety. But what it really ends up being is instead of having a hard-hitting safety playing the overhang, you have a soft-hitting corner who's like 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. So you see they motion over. Now that corner is going to be the free man, the free hitter, and he doesn't want any part of that game. And this is just, this is just by scheme, right? So you look at this, and they're going to bring down. They're going to bring down
the safety, and then the corner's going with the motion.
They'll bring down Garden Johnson. When they bring this motion over, the way the Eagles always do this, they just have an outside guy constantly. So if the outside guy motions away, the inside guy is the one is going to trail if they play man or match.
Yep, and then it's a good job offensive line hitting their blocks. AJ seeing the hole, seeing the read, the way the flow's going, to able to get that cutback right there.
Randall does a good enough job, but really, when you look at this, like Darius Slay and James, as good as they are, they're not set up schematically or really from a mentality standpoint. Like I'm gonna go make this play. This isn't gonna happen. This is a soft spot in their defense.
Yeah, Darius Slay. No, he's not gonna go deal with AJ. He did just that. He watched him run by. He don't want to. He made a business decision. That's what DBs do.
No joke. Pacheco's he's not as big, but the way that he runs
hard. He runs like a big guy for sure. So Darius Slay made a business decision, and that's one thing I like as a running back, when you make DBs do that, but you got to set the tone early in the game to get that reaction later in the game.
Love it. We got 12 personnel, and now you see Hassan Reddick's playing outside Mercedes. Now the caveat here is, and Noah Gray does, I think, does a pretty good job for them, but you have to have a guy who can block Hassan Reddick one-on-one. But you can get these guys in bunch formations closed up. Hassan's outside Mercedes, but inside the slot, the outside receiver. You're worried about that crack now. You're aware of it because you already are. You're already a wide nine, not just a wide nine. And so now you look at this box. This is super advantageous because
beautiful. You got safety, Blankenship in there, 33 there. Wait. There's those DBs. That's not a problem.
57, you're running a slip to 57. And 57 really, unless he comes downhill and just forces a cutback right now, which doesn't really help you because Myers is all the way back on 32. So schematically, like, this is a really, really, I'm not going to say an easy block, but you're getting the double teams where you want them consistently, and you don't have to get off on a linebacker very fast.
No, because when the linemen come off clean like that to get to the second level, then the running back can also feel that and see that with their eyes if they have their eyes up looking upfield.
Now, this is something the San Francisco 49ers run. Now, they'll run it the opposite way where they'll keep the back on the far side. And this actually has some advantages doing it the way the Green Bay Packers did. But they're running like a 2 tight ends or a 21 or a 12 personnel, like counter gap, stutter play where they're just going to kick out, lead through, and then just get that double team at the at the point of attack. So Bakhtiari and Elgin Jenkins, and this translates anywhere. Bakhtiari and Elgin Jenkins don't have to get off that double team until way over past where Yash is. I mean, they're double teaming all the way over to that side. And because you put A.J. Dillon play side here, this really looks like the split flow play that they've been running, right? So this is a very, like, from a standpoint of what the Eagles are expecting right here, they're not necessarily they're expecting the ball to go to the right? So now if you just take a straight handoff downhill, your fill lanes are a little bit messed up.
Yep.
See Hassan Reddick try to, instead of going through that block, which I think he is now, he's trying to go around that block. Can't do it.
Can't do that. He blocked himself right there. So Philly, you got the DNs with that mindset like they had last week, getting the ball, getting the Purdy and what have you. If you have that same mindset, then you got that opportunity. The Chiefs have the opportunity. Even they have Pachenko, they have who else? McKinney, that are small backs but run hard. They see this on film. If we see this on film, then that's what Bieniemy Reed can look at. It's like between the run game, setting that up, but then flowing off of that to into pass and play action pass for Pat Mahomes. That ankle is a little bit better. He could get outside the pocket on that play action.
Hey, real quick, one of our listeners is asking about Joe Barry, and we've addressed it before. Do you think we should fire Joe Barry? I think schematically, I don't think they did anybody a service last year. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but my continual comment is it's very difficult for me to understand how Matt LaFleur says we're going to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, right, and in the same press conference or the press conference the next morning says everybody's job is safe. That didn't make a ton of sense to me. Now, listen, you can have a bad year, but it's not just Joe Barry. That's the number one thing. What happens with all these guys? Like, the buck stops with the guy who's in charge. So if the defense, I don't care if you're an offensive coach, if the defense isn't working, you're the head coach, it's your problem. Like, you're the one who's got a problem. What happens with all of these things is you've got to, even if you're the head coach, you're answering to somebody. Someone's got to go. Someone's got to go. Someone's got to go. Yep. Right? And if you have an owner, which we don't, but if you have an owner, then a lot of owners will be like, it's like Mike McCarthy. Dude, Mike McCarthy just got rid of everybody on his offensive staff.
Yeah.
And Kellen Moore.
I saw that. Kellen Moore gone.
Rob's gone.
Yep.
You're like, dude, why did you got rid of everybody? And you've basically said, it's all on me now. Like, Mike McCarthy has 1 year. And if Mike McCarthy doesn't do it this year, then the guy that's playing is DC for him, DQ. DQ will be head coach in a year from now. Yeah. And so
I knew he got rid of Kellen Moore. I didn't know he got rid of everybody offensively.
Oh, he got rid of like five offensive staff members. Yeah. So but that's because he has an owner. Now Matt doesn't have an owner, right? He's got people, there's a president, there's GM, but he doesn't have an owner. And so what really happens here is, when I look at it, it's like, if you're being optimistic, which I'd like to be, you're saying, okay, they're going to figure this out because they are good football coaches who care. So I don't think like you have a bad year and you necessarily need to get fired. Correct. I just thought the way that it was presented didn't make sense. AG, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I say Joe, are you talking about Joe or Mike or down in Dallas?
I'm talking about Joe.
Joe here, yeah. So, I say it'd probably be a move of convenience to keep him, because he's been here for so long. He's been here for not so long, but 2 years now, or 3 years. That's it. Other than that,
what if they would have brought in Vic Fangio, or the dude they just signed? They just the DC from
Raiders,
Denver. No, the
Denver
DC who
was in Chicago head coach. Yeah,
who just
a couple years ago.
I'm talking about the last week. Vic Fangio just signed a $3.5 million a year deal with the Dolphins. And then I can't remember the guy's name who's the defensive coordinator for Denver. We're talking, what I'm saying is there are high level guys available right now that are proven in this league.
Right.
So
that's why I say it's a move of convenience if you keep him. That's it. It's just a move of convenience because you're familiar with him. You've been here a couple of years. You have a small rapport because it's been 2 years. Other than that, Matt LaFleur got to buckle down and make hard decisions. Be like, look at the defense as a whole. Look at all the fundamentals that we talked about all year long that they, did not do really good at times. blocking or tackling stuff that pro players need to do. And that was a consistently thing week over week that even in the games they won, it was an issue. So looking at that fine tooth comb got to get where it's picking up the, the bad parts to make things flow. Because if you got to make those tough decisions as a head coach when you don't have an owner. And so you got to talk to the GM and make those moves.
Roger that. Let's look at some past stuff real quick, AG, just on this last of the Packers game, so we can break apart for the Super Bowl potentially. So we're hipped off. We go from trips, we go double motion over to doubles and 12 personnel play action pass. And they play a lot of man coverage because they've got two great corners. They've got great pass rush. And as we know, AG, if a lineman can pick off the dude that's covering you man to man, there's always a chance. And Andy Reid is historically one of the best screen. I don't know what happened there. Andy Reid is historically one of the best screen guys in the league. But if we can get that, I must have screwed up that play. But if we can get one guy out on that man, it's 20 yards all you can eat.
Yeah, it's a problem. When you have running backs, which Kansas City does, with their pass game and run game, and they do a lot of similar screenplays as we just saw in that clip, where McKinney or even Pachenko, they get out in the open field, and you saw last week or in last week's game against the Bengals, they had that sense of urgency. So when plays needed to get made, Pachenko had a big run where he gets bottled up in the middle, but he busts out of it and gains of 20-some yard gain. And so you got guys that could do that because they also have the patience, because you got Eric Bieniemy, former running back when he played, but then Andy Reid, like you said, really has the science down of running screens and teaching the running backs how to set your lineman up to get the ball downfield. And that was something I knew right away, coming from Seattle and then being in Green Bay. You got to let the big guys get in front and they create problems, because it's not even, you got to engage the guy you're blocking. Just get in his way. That gives me enough space and time to get downfield.
Right.
Yeah.
So they got a variation of a two shell look here, and one of the rules I think for the Eagles is they're gonna carry two, they're gonna zone off three, so they're zone off the trip side, and you just see, because they're carrying two on the bottom with the red circle, you got a wide open underneath route, and because they don't carry three on the trip side, because they're gonna try to take away that underneath route, they've got Christian Watson wide open down the middle. Obviously, we know that Pat Mahomes is capable of making those kind of plays.
Yep, big hit, good catch there. Yes, he is. He can nail it. Was it needle it in there to the receiver?
Seen a lot of 12 personnel in this game. My expectation would be that you see a lot of 12 personnel. The Chiefs like running it anyways, 12 and 13 personnel. They like running that out of that personnel group. But because the Eagles won't necessarily match, and they certainly don't match from a formational standpoint, they don't necessarily go into their 5-down line look. They'll run a lot of nickel out of it. It puts you in a position, or if it's like what do you want to do? If you bring in, if you're running your 5-2 look, your 3, whatever you want to call it, 5-2, 3-4. If you're running that look, we have passing lanes. If you want to go back to nickel, we can run the ball all day. So that's the conundrum really in the NFL right now, because so many teams are running 12 again, or 12 or 21. I don't know why they go back. Everybody doesn't go back to 21, because I just think that instead of 12 personnel, that 21, that fullback's actually more valuable, just because they're just better blockers.
Yeah.
But,
overall.
So another idea. So they go motion, and when you go motion, again, you went motion to trips here. You got two tight ends up there already. And so they push Bradbury out, and all of a sudden that linebacker, his responsibilities change, because now they've moved out an extra man, and he hasn't moved off the snap because he's still got run responsibilities. There's a lot going on. And in these scenarios, he now has to get wider than the second guy, and it just leaves, because of that, you're not going to be able to carry him. You're not going to be able to put your hands on him. So both those inside tight end receivers get free releases. They're going full speed now. Things happen a little bit faster, and it's all because that motion expands the field and expands Bradbury out. So now that linebacker's got new look, we get a crossing route for Tunyon, one of the plays that we'd like to see more of hopefully next year.
Yep. Giving that defense, making them think out there. You got to be really creative in your scheming, if it's the motioning side of it, but making sure you don't, cater to them by doing the same thing over and over again.
Yes, sir. And we got one of our favorite plays. So this is for the love of the game route that Aaron Jones is running right here. This is when I was saying before the game, they'll literally, when you're installing this, for those watching, they'll be like, hey, this is for love of the game routes, which just means you have no chance to get in the ball. You're just taking that safety as far as you can, because they're going to run crossers underneath, right? And so what they're really trying to do here is they're trying. I think that's Watson. They're trying to get Watson, but he's gloved right now. But they're trying to get him on the deep crosser, and the only way you can do that is if you get rid of that safety. But when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, you just kind of make plays, and those plays. Everyone thinks that's like a genius move. Yeah, it's a genius move by those two guys specifically, right?
That's it. They might have run it once in practice, if that, or maybe not.
So they go motion here, AG, under center, and you see that linebacker is right over the center all of a sudden, right? Mm-hmm. So that space for Christian Watson just to catch. And this is what, honestly, Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, this is really what they're like super comfortable doing all the time. They'll dink and dunk you all day. Like Travis Kelce's like the king of catching the ball on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he'll catch it in the pocket. Yeah, he just comes off the ball. He kind of takes 2 steps. He reads the coverage. By the time before the ball snap, he knows the coverage. He'll take 2 steps and just sit there. And then Pat Mahomes will do his little play action, just kind of do his acting job. And you know what? Boom, here you go, Kelce. Drop the ball off till you pick up 20, 5 to 10 yards right there.
So this turns into, I think what we consider explosive play, right? They get 5. Yep. Now he just gets just over 10 yards, but still that's a 10-yard gain on it. That's not even a play.
A simple slant, yeah.
Yeah.
Flick of the wrist.
And then, of course, this is the one thing the Chiefs can't do. I just wanted to leave it on here. They don't have this guy anymore. They just don't have a dude who's built like this, runs like this, and they don't have. I don't think they have on their roster a guy who can take a dig route yard.
Nope.
But